In this tutorial, we're going to take advantage of our aerial photography. So I'm going to turn on my land use land coverage map. And one way to kind of digitize information is to take advantage of the color schemes inside of our map here. So we can see just by looking at this map that we have certain areas that are very dark green, some areas that are kind of a medium green to brown, and then some areas which are very light color, which are basically the circulation paths where humans walk along or drive along. So in our example here, we're going to say that we are really interested in kind of mapping out these three different surface types, our kind of tree massings, our dense grasses, and our circulation paths. So there are a couple of ways to do this. One way is of course to go through here and digitize those boundaries using the create polygon, or kind of like how we did before when we created our area of interest. And for this map, that might be pretty simple to do since it's pretty small, but let's just say that you're working with something that is much bigger. Let's say maybe it's an entire city or a county, and that can be somewhat laborsome to do. So that's something that we actually probably don't want to do, is manually digitize something like that. So if you have a map that has a lot of good contrast like this, it may be more advantageous to just simply take advantage of the different color bands that are embedded in this data. So the first thing I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to move this over to the right, open my model builder, and I want to reclassify this map. And like before, what we were doing was we were using slopes. We were reclassifying the map using slopes in a previous exercise. In this one, we're going to reclassify this map based on different color bands. So I'm going to add another tool here to my model builder, and that one is going to be the reclassify tool. So over here, it happens to be inside the spatial analyst tools. I'm going to expand this. I'm going to look for reclassify and drag and drop that into my model builder. And then I need an input, and of course we're not going to be using the terrain anymore. We're actually going to be using the aerial photography. So over here I'm going to grab the aerial and drag and drop that into my model builder. And then I'm going to use the connect tool and connect my aerial photography to my reclassify. And then from here I'll right click on this and I'll go to open, and this is where I can reclassify values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the classify button, which opens the classification window, and inside of here, this is where I'm going to reclassify things. Now I know that I want three categories. I want the circulation paths, the dense grasses, and the tree massings. So that's basically three categories. So I see my three here. Now what we're seeing here is a histogram, and this is showing us the distribution of color across our map. So in these lower numbers, these are very dark colors, and the very light numbers are very light colors. So, and then it's showing us these bars, how much of this map contains this color. So we can see that this middle area is probably obviously greens or medium greens. So somehow we need to slide these sliders, and this is a lot of trial and error type of thing to figure out exactly where the deviation or the split needs to occur. So on this first one, I'm going to take a guess at about around maybe 75, or this first one here, and then this second one I'm going to take a guess at maybe in the 150 range, maybe somewhere around here. And again, this is a lot of trial and error. I'm assuming, again, since my map is mostly this medium green, that this is probably my dense vegetation. This is going to be my circulation, or sorry, this side here will be my circulation, and then over here is my tree massings. Remember, the lower the number is, the darker the color is. So I'm not so much paying attention to the greens, but actually the shade of coloring that I see in this map. So from here I'm going to go ahead and click OK. Now I see my three different colors, and I can actually assign a new value into that cell. So right now I can see that everywhere where there's a 1 is going to be designated as trees, 2s are my dense grass, and 3 is going to be, or I'm sorry, 1 is going to be my tree massings, 2 is going to be my dense grass, and then 3 is going to be my circulation areas. So down here at the bottom, I might actually call this land use land coverage 1. I'm giving it a number at the end because I may have to run this again in case this is not, the output that I get is not what I want. So from here I'll go ahead and I'll click OK. It is going into my geodatabase, by the way. I'll right click on this tool and I'll choose Run. Click Close. I'll right click on this and choose Add to Display. And right now it's underneath of everything, so I actually need to drag it on top of my aerial. And I can see that it somewhat gets close. Some places it's a little bit overkill. So I can use my effects tool again to just do a visual quality check here. And just to see how close. Well, it looks like my dense vegetation is pretty close. Looks like I might have a bit too much on my roads. So if I wanted to, I could run this again and move that slider for the lighter color areas maybe a little bit further towards the right, so I grab less of that lighter color in that category. I think for now I'm going to leave this as is, because the next thing that I might be interested in is maybe only grabbing one thing here.